Happy Friday, everybody. Well, when we record this. Happy next week in the future. Hello to the people in the future.
Happy whatever day it is.
Happy
right now.
Whatever day it is. Guys, I got to be pretty honest. George, Max, let's be real for a moment. I know we're going to get excited once we get into this topic because, George, there's nothing you love to talk about more than how to make HubSpot wrap around your business. And specifically, we're going to talk about it from the sales perspective today.
I do love that.
But I think we need to acknowledge for our listeners at home, the energy is extra spicy today.
It's Friday. That's all I'm going to say.
We're fine. We're thriving. Yeah. We're doing great. Yeah. We weren't just talking about how George was up at 4:45 this morning.
Well, I was in my office by 4:45, which means I had actually showered and brushed my teeth before that time. By the way, it is also a payroll Friday. So maybe that's part of the spiciness. I don't know.
That might be part of it. Max, how are you doing? You poster in motion.
Man, I am doing great. It has been a week. Had a wonderful day yesterday in Boston at the Super Pug event that HubSpot put on, the partner user group.
Oh, I thought it was about pugs.
No. Have you not seen the post? Because Max's face is freaking priceless.
It's giant.
It's first of all, it's very close up, and it looks like he wants to say F the world, his facial expression.
I'm going to need the link to that.
Let me give some context to this.
Yeah, give some context to that.
So the first post that day was me riding the train into Boston, which is what I did for X amount of years minus the pandemic when I was working at HubSpot. And, moved from Woburn to Billerica. I'm still on the same train line.
I love saying Billerica, by the way.
Yeah. And I happened to get on the same train, only, upline in like Wilmington, right? So didn't get on the same spot, but I got the same seat that I got every single, right? Which is the back double decker, bottom floor, very back seat, 3 seats all to myself, right? And I sat in there. Train started going to North Station. And it was just like this moment of the past like 4 years since the pandemic, working from home, all the shit I was going through, the rest of my time at HubSpot, and it just like flashed like, and I was like back in that seat, heading into HubSpot or heading into Boston to go to HubSpot. And it was just like the weirdest experience ever. Yeah. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Again. And that face was like, man, I'm really glad I work from home and I can watch my kids grow up instead of doing this shit for 2 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll tell you one thing. I don't miss that. I don't miss going into Boston every single day and like doing all that stuff. I do miss HubSpot, right? And it was great when I rolled up to 2 Canal and I like was on the patio and I was like, man, it's like, this is familiar. Got to go in, see some friends and everything that I hadn't seen in 4 years, right? And it was super cool. So I spent like an hour and a half at the office just kind of seeing the whole new 2 Canal. They got the entire building now, right? They retired 25 First Street, so the original HQ is no more, but they literally have all 5 floors of 2 Canal, and it's like beautiful. What they did with that place it's stunning, honestly.
I love 2 Canal.
Shout out to the facility teams at HubSpot
and friends.
It's so funny. Max, I'm also having a weird kind of flashback weekend. So I am actually not in Maryland right now. I'm up in Connecticut this weekend. Yeah. George and Max, you may recognize this beautiful green from I'm back at my old office because I'm up this week this weekend visiting a friend of mine who just had her second baby girl. And what's really funny about it, though, is that my Airbnb fell through and all of these different things. And I'm now back. George, you will get a kick out of this. I'm back at the Wallingford Hilton Garden Inn because it was the only thing that was available. Nice. And oh man, it's like being back at Impact when I used to be the editor-in-chief there. I'm like, man, time is flat. Everything's a circle and this is all fine.
Yeah.
But we're going to move on from this, guys, because we have a lot to cover today. George, I want to start with you because today, as the title kind of gives way, we're talking about Sales Hub apps and integrations, our personal favorites.
Yeah.
I want to turn it right over to you to talk about why you are so freaking excited about this conversation, because one of the things I know that you love to talk about is this idea of wrapping HubSpot around your business. We talk about that holistically if you have multiple hubs, but today we're really talking about it from the Sales Hub perspective.
Yeah.
So can you just for the listeners at home, talk to us a bit about what excites you about what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, HubSpot can do a lot. I mean, a lot. But it's never going to be that thing that can do everything. And even some of the things that it can do, it might not be enough for what you need, again, to wrap it around your business. You might need deeper quoting, right? You might need to be able to do better documents. You might need to have some type of like speed dial call system. You might need to be able to connect to LinkedIn and HubSpot together and not actually want to like lose all of your life savings because of the cost of Sales Navigator. Like there are things that you and your sales team might need or want to do, or just even HubSpot users, where integrating these apps in the marketplace extend the ability, streamline the process, and honestly, probably make the team that gets to use the tools happier because it's now more user-friendly, saving them time. I mean, listen, my mind is like kind of, anytime you can save a human time, you've probably created a new friend in life because everybody else is probably trying to steal their time. And these apps are helping to create time back in people's days again. So I'm just excited because with the app ecosystem, and by the way, we could do one of these episodes for every department, but with the app ecosystem, like the sky's the limit for what the humans can do with HubSpot.
Max, I want to turn it over to you to ask you the same question because, just to pull back the curtain a bit on the behind the scenes of this podcast, I'll throw out the outline somewhere mid-late week before we go to record. Everybody will kind of pop in, take a look. And this one, I was pleasantly not like shocked, but like, hey, Maxie put some notes. Mm-hmm. Maxie's clearly excited. He's on the hype train for this topic. So I'd like to hear from your perspective. I know, the little Max hype train. So I'd like to hear from you. What makes you excited to have this conversation? And what are you hoping people take away from today's talk?
I'm hoping we can change.
He's so excited, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, that he's holding his face. I just need everybody.
Yeah.
Who cannot say, I'm so excited.
He's happily.
Right? I'm. The funny thing is like and I've probably went on this diatribe at some point in past episodes, right? But I really think that only because I keep hearing it from partners, right? It's like I can hope anyone listening to this that is in the camp of like, what do you mean I have to install an app to get HubSpot to do this thing? I thought it was supposed to do everything, right? I want to change that toxic mindset for anyone listening, right? HubSpot's a platform, right? It's meant to do a bunch of things pretty good for a pretty universal audience of folks that can use them, right? And I really, really want people to start, thinking about the metaphor that your CRM is the smartphone for your business, right? Just like the way that, us all, whether you're an Apple or an Android person, you use your smartphone to interact with the world, right? And send and receive communications and keep track of things and all these different things that you do. Your business does the same thing with its CRM. That is like quite literally the equivalent, right? And the wild thing is that, folks have no problem buying an app for their phone, buying gems for their farm, buying this, buying that, in order to use this phone, right? And, sometimes you are installing a better calendar app than the one that it has. Sometimes you are installing an app that makes it do something different that it didn't do out of the box, right? The same goes for your CRM, right? If you think of your iPhone, right, and you applied that same logic that you apply to your CRM system, that like, oh, what do you mean I got to buy something to do something different, right? Imagine if your iPhone came with every single app on the App Store already installed on it.
Nope. I'm twitching.
Unaffordable, unscalable, unsupportable, ridiculously unusable, right? The same thing goes for a CRM platform, HubSpot or whatever, right? And the wild thing is like this has been the standard in the Salesforce ecosystem forever, right? Yet for some reason, I hear time after time from partners of, you know, customers saying, hey, they think your apps are cool, but like they just don't get that they have to buy something else to make HubSpot do something different. And it's partly HubSpot's fault for doing the all-in-one narrative for so long, right? And which to an extent is true, right? But people misconstrue that in different ways, and especially sales folks, right? You know, they like to say, this thing will do everything. And they don't prepare customers to in the mindset of you're buying a platform. It's going to do most of the things, but there are plenty of things that are unique to your use case, unique to your industry, unique to something that probably just you need, right? And when I say just you, we're talking a smaller subsect of HubSpot's customers, right? That you can go get and add on and tack onto it and plug into it and get it to do more, right? And it wouldn't make sense for just every app on the app marketplace to be pre-installed into HubSpot, or it wouldn't make sense for HubSpot to invest in making it do quite literally everything, because when you do that, the quality of the core products go down, the price of the product goes up, the support suffers, the updates suffer, the quality of the updates are all over the place, and it's hard to keep track, right? So there's a reason app stores exist for platforms, and this is nothing new. This is the norm, right? So I don't know why HubSpot customers have that problem. I have hunches, I have thoughts, I have inklings, right? And maybe it's not a widespread problem, but I hear it enough that it's just like, man, we got to shift the mindset around how you look at what your CRM is, and knowing that it's like, it's not a detriment that you have to install an app to get it to do something. That's a feature,
not a bug.
It's the fact that you can do it. Oh, what do you mean it doesn't do it, but I can install something that makes it do it, right? Instead of building something completely custom, right? That's a benefit. It's not a.
So, and I love the way you brought that up too, because it reminds me a lot of like the difference when we have conversations about like the CMS of HubSpot, which is now Content Hub, right? And versus WordPress. And one of the challenges I've always had with WordPress, just to kind of go down this analogy route for a second, is that like it is built entirely off of plugins. It is built like in order for it to function or do anything well, you are entirely dependent on third-party developers, third-party designers, third-party app creators, third-party makers. What I love about the way HubSpot uses apps, whether we're talking about Sales Hub or we're talking about different hubs, is the fact that HubSpot has gotten really good at its core foundation, what it does. It is a Swiss Army knife that is built around a central pivot point of a CRM and how that CRM is expressed across different hubs. But then it goes out of its way to make it so you can then do what George talks about all the time, right? Like wrapping HubSpot around your business instead of making the apps like the primary way in which it functions. George, I think I jumped over you there. I want to turn it over to you because I know you had a thought.
It's okay that you did that. What's interesting is, Max, as I was listening to you, and you said you have some like ideas of why that may be, and I'm curious because if you pay attention to what HubSpot is starting to do, and trying to get to take off. When you think of it as a CRM and needing to buy additional pieces for a just CRM, it gets a little bit dicey and interesting. But if you pay attention, they're now calling it a smart CRM inside a HubSpot customer platform. And if you're using a customer platform, well, it makes sense to add things to a customer platform because it's a completely different mindset that you show up with if you're building a customer platform versus adding an expensive app to a CRM. So interestingly enough, I wonder if those two are kind of married, is like somebody realizes, you know what, there's a mindset around what we've called this thing. So let's call it something else and see if we can't get to this level that the platform is actually way more than just HubSpot. HubSpot's the base, but man, can you extend the crap out of it?
Yeah. I think going back to like Liz, what you said about WordPress, it's like, well, yeah, you got to put a bunch of plugins, but like, what's the benefit of that? I mean, WordPress is like infinitely customizable, but who's WordPress for? It's for developers, right? That have their own stack of things they like to plug in and build and like have that ultimate level of freedom of being able to do like whatever they want, right? But HubSpot is not just for developers. It's for the average person to be able to step in and use it, right? So it's like it can't completely rely on add-ons and building it the way you want it to be, like a developer would do with a WordPress instance, right? It's got to be a really healthy mix of usable, but also extendable, and extendable by developers and mere mortals.
Humans,
right?
yeah.
And that's where, that's why, the app stuff is so important, right? That's why the iPhone has an app store, because you're not going to, mere mortals use iPhones, right? Imagine if it was like you get your phone and then you have to develop your own apps on it. That's insane. And it's because the user base is different, right? So I think depending on the product, right? You can look at those differences a little bit differently, or you can consider something a benefit or a detriment or like whatever, right? But, that's why it's so important for HubSpot. And that's why WordPress can still thrive, be built the way it's built, because it's for someone else, right? But yeah, like Shopify is the same way. Like Shopify is, they got a lot of stuff built into the platform, but there's a heavy app ecosystem there too, right? But I can step into Shopify and use Shopify. I'm not a developer, right? And they know that it's like e-commerce owners aren't web developers, right? So there's got to be enough for them to use. But e-commerce business owners might hire developers, so it's got to be extendable in that way too,
Max, I'm curious, is it Shopify that you use where you sell your hats? Where's that again?
Closeonecity.com. Yeah, that's actually true. And I hook it up to HubSpot too as well, George, which is also interesting. Yeah.
Honestly, it's probably the only flat lid I will ever buy, because I look like a big goober in flat lids, but they're so fucking sweet. Oh, effing sweet.
Wow, getting us canceled. See, this is what I'm talking about. Another hash mark on the whiteboard of getting us canceled. It literally says non-explicit in the Apple settings and in the podcast settings. And Liz is like,
you know what? I'm just here supporting my fellow small business owner, Max. And I'm sorry I got colorful in my language trying to show support for his great works. You know what?
Sorry,
Let's
Apple.
move on. I understand I'm going to get us canceled one day. That is my lot in life. But
Listen,
George.
Liz, this is what evangelists do. Okay?
That's right.
I swear a little bit.
We swear a little bit. And we call people by the wrong names at large conferences in Boston. But that's neither here nor there. George.
Tony.
Talk to me. I want to start with you, because you and Max showed up today with big lists, and I want to make sure we get to all of them. So George, I want you to run us through your list of the apps and integrations where you're like, yes, for Sales Hub.
Yeah. One at a time, or just kind of list them out?
Dude, go however the spirit moves you.
All right, so I'll do two because they're kind of close in comparison, and then maybe Max can do one or two, and then we'll kind of piggyback this.
Hey, let's do it, guys.
Obviously, well, actually, I'm going to be real honest about two things, okay? So first of all, that I'm all about the humans. That's the easy one. The second one that I'm going to be a little bit
app?
No, it's it kind of is on the
human app.
Yeah, the human app. So everybody knows that. That one's easy. The second one is I historically suck at outreach, drive sales, sidekick strategies, George B. Thomas, Beyond Your Default. I'm more of the they'll come to me guy. However, in an effort to do what many people tell us we need to do in a world where we're using inbound and outbound in a combined mix, I've been trying to get better at, in a human way, do each, right? And so the two that I'm going to mention right now, one is Surf, which basically it takes LinkedIn prospecting and it kind of streamlines it And you can literally like capture contacts. You can sync information. They've got these templates that they can use. It's super easy to install. They're great with their onboarding emails, by the way, and getting you educated. They even boast about connecting to like 15 different databases to like enrich the information that you get about these humans. And so having a tool like that, where you can use it in a not spammy, not stupid, not salesy way, but connect your LinkedIn community, which I'm not boasting right now, but my LinkedIn community is quite large. There's a lot of humans that have the potential of
a lot of what? A lot of what?
A lot of
Humans.
There we go.
That have the needed potential to need to be in my smart CRM, in my customer platform. And so Surf is definitely one that I've used. However, I'll double down on the second one because
George,
what?
Is Surf something you can kind of use instead of LinkedIn Sales Navigator?
Yep. Both of these that I'm mentioning, I would call easy Sales Navigator replacements, without a doubt. Okay. So now I'm testing one right now, and so far I like what I see. And so Surf was number one. The second one is called HubLead. And they boast that it's the only HubSpot outreach app needed to simplify daily outbound activities. And it's a Chrome extension that integrates LinkedIn with HubSpot, enabling you to import contacts and sync conversations with just one click right from LinkedIn. And it's pretty dang slick. And what I like about it too is you can see very easily where the HubLead interaction points are to add like a human or a conversation or a piece like that. So again, I love both of them. They both have pricing on their websites. They both have resources on their website. So they're leading into like the educate the
humans
so they understand how to use it. So for me, the first two, Surf or HubLead, for outbound/inbound, not salesy, not spammy, not crappy connection of your community and your HubSpot platform.
Max.
Okay, all right, yeah.
He was looking at HubLead. I literally saw when I said it, he's like, "Wait, what is that?"
I wish everybody could see what just happened. I wish everybody, because Max, you just had this like happy giddy face, and then you leaned into the mic, and then you just kind of glitched out, and I couldn't tell if it was joy or oh, he's so happy. Look, George, he's so happy.
I mean, he probably scrolled down to the import LinkedIn contacts with our HubSpot LinkedIn plugin. Maybe he got to that part. So HubLead. Let me do that, by the way. If you're listening to this and you're looking for it, it's Surf, SURFE.com. Or if you're looking for HubLead, it's HubLead, HubLead.io.
I didn't see him in the app marketplace. I didn't see HubLead.
Hub in the app marketplace. Yeah, yet. Maybe because we're cutting edge, but it's, again, I'm testing it. It's pretty dang dope.
Oh, man, they got to get in the app marketplace, baby.
I think they're working on it.
Yeah. All right.
Max,
cool.
Doodlebug, hit me up with one. What are some of your faves?
Shout out to my boy Harry Bevins.
What up?
From Weave and Blend. Was it? No, Weave and, hold on. Weave. Blend? Was it? Yeah. Weave and Blend. Weave and Blend. No, I just want to make sure. I almost said, the name of my barbershop that I go to. No, but it's them. Yeah.
Is your beard a weave? And blend.
Guys, okay. I'm sorry. I've just got to stop for a moment and say, I never thought, like, I am today years old hearing the sentence question, is your beard a weave? And I feel like we've achieved something as a HubHeroes family with that happening today. And I just, for the audience at home, wanted to acknowledge that. So, Max, let's get back to you. What were you talking about?
So Harry runs this app studio called Weave and Blend, and they make this particular one that I think is like a must-have for sales teams on HubSpot, and it's called Line Pilot. I've definitely mentioned this before. In the past.
Are you sure?
Line Pilot, George?
Wait, I don't think you've mentioned this in the past.
Brother, Line Pilot is so sick. All right.
Okay. Now I gotta go. I'm gonna play a Max, and I'm gonna go to Marketplace real quick.
George, you're gonna buy this when you see it, just so you know. All right. So What Line Pilot does, this is like some of the most big brain I've ever seen built into a HubSpot app. And it's so like wonderfully simple, but super, super powerful and like makes people's lives easier in HubSpot. So what Line Pilot does is it lets you build these templates for adding line items to deals that will automatically add line items along with like custom logic to like change the amounts and the, I'm pretty sure like the pricing and like all this stuff based on deal properties changing, right? So imagine this for a second. Imagine you sell a product called like the enterprise package, right? And the enterprise package is like 7 different line items of different stuff, right? And like 2 of those line items are like seat based or quantity based or something or like whatever, right? So instead of going into your line items, adding them one by one, changing the quantities of the seated ones or, you know, whatever it is, right? Imagine if you could literally just look on the left-hand side of your deal object, select product package or some property you build, select the enterprise package, and then below that, you have a number field that just says number of seats. And when you do that, hit save and refresh, all of a sudden you have all 7 line items, and the 2 that are seat-based are automatically have the quantity multiplied to like 25 or whatever it is, right? And all you did was manipulate a couple of drop downs and like a field on the deal, and you've got your line items, right? It is sick, right? So I highly recommend people looking at Line Pilot. Harry is a delight. But it is one of the coolest, simplest, beautifully branded, just insanely useful HubSpot apps for sales teams that want to like simplify, you know, adding line items to quotes, right? Just by using properties on a deal record.
You said it's so Harry?
Cool. Harry Bevins.
Liz, I feel like for some reason we should probably get Harry on the podcast.
Yeah, I already made that note where I'm already
maybe
shout out
deep
Harry.
Dive in this. Yeah.
Hi,
Harry.
Yeah.
Hi, Harry. George, talk to me, Bubby. What else you got?
Do I not get 2?
Yeah,
you can have
gets
2.
2.
Do you want 2?
Yeah, he'll take as much as he
Look
can
how
get, trust
happy
me.
he is. Max, your whole life, like there's life back in your eyes. I've never seen you this happy.
It's almost as if my whole personality the past year has been apps on HubSpot.
I thought it was because your beard was weed.
Just maybe.
Yeah. All right. So Harry, wonderful British gentleman, right? 2 more British gentlemen, the guys from Org Chart Hub. So they make a product, Org Chart Hub, which basically gives you on, I think it's company records, I want to say. I might be wrong. Yeah, I think it's company records, but you can also probably get there from contact records, I think, where you could have a company with a bunch of contacts, and then you can build a visual org chart inside of your CRM. And it ties into like a ton of different stuff. You can also do some like really cool parent-child relationships, I'm pretty sure, with like companies and like a visual builder, right? So like imagine for a second, you're looking at a contact or a company record, right? And that company record, you've got your just boring contact panel with like a whole bunch of different contacts on it, right? They add in a card on the right-hand side that shows the org chart of the company. And when you click it, it gives you this like visual builder in your CRM that lists all the contacts, and you can literally drag and drop them into place and build a company hierarchy or an org chart and show the relations. Yep, there it is, right? Show
Look
the
how pretty that
relationships
is.
between the company. You can add these different like labels and everything, right? So for companies that want to be able to like map out the org chart of an organization so they understand who they need to talk to, who the different like personalities or these different tags that you have that kind of like label these folks as blockers, champions, budget holders, decision makers, who's on what team, who's boss, all that kind of stuff. You can do it in your CRM, which is sick. They have another, so this heat map thing.
Grabbing another screenshot of that.
The heat map thing shows you where all your activity is against all these different contacts. So you can see like which parts of these organizations are we actually hitting, right? I'm pretty sure when I'm going off memory here. I might be totally wrong. So guys, like I feel bad if I get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure when you show like the company like parent-child relationship stuff, I think it'll also show you like roll-ups of like closed won deals and things like that too. So you can see like revenue like across different, company records that are like related to each other. It's something like that. Don't quote me on that. Go download the app and go play with it. It's, HubSpot.
That's
oh,
sick.
there it is. Yeah. Boom,
Yeah, that
right
is
there.
sick.
Yeah, dude. Isn't this freaking awesome? Right. It's so neat.
By the way, if you're like, what are they looking at?
Oh,
Go
I
to
took a bunch of
community-
screenshots.
Yeah,
It'll
well,
be in the
no, go to
description.
community.hubheroes.com and watch the thing instead of listening to the podcast or show up live. All right,
Show
go
up
ahead, Max.
live. Maybe
And-
one day if I stop swearing into the mic, we can be live on something like LinkedIn. Until
And
I
so-
be
We have the technology now in Riverside.
I know we have the
too.
technology,
Anyway.
but you still have a Liz, so that's where we get problems.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Sorry, Max.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And not only did they make Org Chart Hub to like map an organization, they also made an app. Bring this up, George, if you can, called GeoMapper. And what GeoMapper does is it brings like maps of your accounts into HubSpot, right? Which is something people ask for like all the time, especially if they're coming from like Salesforce, right? But GeoMapper will let you make things like here, go scroll through some of these like pictures here. You can like see where all your accounts are, like on an actual like Google Map type situation. It brings in don't bring that back up. It brings in the same filtering that the lists tool has, right? So just like building lists in HubSpot, you can build a map of your accounts, and you can even, I'm pretty sure you can even create routes, right? And what's like super cool, like this, Daniel. So it's Daniel and Austin, I believe. Yeah, here you go. Like here's like a, you can, plan out a trip, right, to go see your different accounts that you have inside of HubSpot, right?
I have a client that I want to talk to about this right now.
Have you never heard of GeoMapper, George?
Bro, I live under a rock
Dude.
or something right now.
Dude, this has been around for a while. It is so sick. But like Daniel hit me up a while ago on LinkedIn, and I need to re-engage with him about it. But he had this like killer idea for Event Happily, where he's like, bro, when you guys launch your event tool, right? And you want to say, hey, let's go invite all the people that we know, like where the event's taking place. He was literally like, cool. So like, let's say you're doing an event in Boston, right? I'm going to go draw a big circle around Boston, and boom, here's a list of all your contacts in that area that you can then just go invite to an event. Like it's so freaking neat. So that's great. So especially if you're a company that, does it pays special attention to like an org chart at an organization, and you like to kind of map out and kind of plan out who you need to be talking to, who your influencers are, all that kind of stuff. That's great. And like, by the way, like these guys were solving for this before there were like same object associations, right? Like before you could say, here's a contact, and then here's it's associated to another contact, and that's his boss or that's his manager, or this is a direct report of this person. Like you could do that with this before that, right? And they've had GeoMapper for forever now at this point. But it's great. It's like whether you're, again, a team that like pays special attention, that kind of stuff, when you're attacking accounts and you're trying to like sell deeper into an organization, or you're like some sort of, field salesperson where you go back out into the real world. You're not selling behind a Zoom or anything. You're going knocking on doors, you're going visiting accounts, all that kind of stuff. It takes all that CRM data and lets you do mapping stuff or chart mapping things, like all that kind of stuff. It's so cool. And those two guys are awesome. Yeah. A lot of really good British app makers, to be honest with you.
To the Brits.
Yeah.
Okay. So, gentlemen, I love you both so much, but this is the part where I say, if we take this long to talk about every app, we are going to be here for 18 hours.
So there's a part 2 or a part 3.
No, that's what I was going to say. So we've got an option
Part 7.
Here. What I think we should do is I think we should make this a 2-parter episode. And I want to give you each one more app to really go to town on. And then next week, we'll wrap up our list. What do you guys think?
Holy crap. It's been that.
I'm not kidding. Like I said,
I just looked at the clock.
You get one more, and Max, we're going to wrap this up and come back for next week.
Obviously, I'm a cheater because Max just did 3, and I'm only supposed to do 1, but I'm going to pair 2 together as
of course,
one.
why do you always break the rules?
So here's the thing. George. I love, see what I did there, Max? I love, I got to keep it even. I love HubSpot's insights, where it does a pretty decent job of like giving you data or information at a company level to try to feed it. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's wrong. Let's be honest. But what I love even more than insights, these 2 tools that if you're trying to enrich your data and you need to have more information, and because you can get more information, you're asking less questions in forums. And because you're asking less questions in forums, you're actually getting better conversion rates. Like, see how this drips down, even though we're talking about sales tools, it drips down into marketing, having a lighter lift because there's a heavier lift on the sales side for this data enrichment. Anyway, I know you said I had to hurry. Apollo.io is definitely one to check out. And by the way, they have a lot more than what I just said as far as data enrichment. Literally, there's scores and signals, inbound optimization, sales enablement features. There's meetings, deal management. Like, there's just a ton there. And the reason I actually know about this and kind of paid attention to it and signed up and went through their onboarding and like, whatever with the tool, Jorge on my team is like, dude, he's like a mini Max. Have you ever checked out Apollo? And I was like, okay, I'll go check it out if it's that exciting. The other one, and of course, I'm not probably telling anybody anything that they don't know. It's owned by HubSpot now. But in that same vein is Clearbit, right? So if you're thinking about, hey, I got these humans from Surf or HubLead, and they're in my database, and now I want to enrich the information that I have about them, Apollo.io and Clearbit may be 2 apps that you might want to lean into and make sure they're part of your arsenal.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm very intentionally mentioning SaaS or Quote Happily at this point, because Quote Happily is not out, and SaaS Happily I've talked a lot about. So I'll rapid fire 2 of them. All right. One would be Distributely from New Breed, which is another HubSpot partner.
Okay.
Right? George, did I just tell you another one you didn't know yet? So Distributely is a tool that takes things like lead routing to like a completely different like universe, right? So instead of handling your lead routing through like a very complicated Christmas tree craziness of workflow actions and lead rotate and set property value lead owner to whatever in HubSpot, you basically send it into its like lead routing sort of like, I think it's like a rules engine or something like that, right? And it can do like super complex lead routing and properly like assign the person. So it's like, oh, you got a crazy amount of zip codes, or like you got wacky like territories, or like anything crazy like that. You can just build it in their like routing engine, right? And it takes care of that for you. It's super cool. So that's Distributely. Another big shout out to it isn't like another app. So this is like more of like an integration, right? But Reveal is a really, really cool tool. Reveal is a way, if you're really leading into a partner led sales motion, right? What's really neat about Reveal, and it's got this really good integration with HubSpot too, as well, in terms of like deals and stuff like that. But it's basically an app that lets you like connect with your partners and share overlapping accounts that you have, to be able to see like, hey, you talk to this person that we also talk to. Can you help make me an introduction to this person over there? All right. And it lets you kind of share data between each other, right? But nothing like, it's mostly like company record information, right? But it's like a great way to kind of leverage partner relationships in order to be able to, get introductions to accounts that you're working, that people already have open opportunities with, and do a cool like partner-led sales motion. And it's got like a deep integration with HubSpot, and it's super cool. Yeah.
So George, here's my question to you as we wrap up today's episode, because we're going into a two-parter, right? So this is a really nice, I want the audience to imagine at home that you're at a great play, you're taking a moment, you're about to go synthesize and integrate all of the things from the first act of the play before you head into the second act. So George, what is the thought that you want to leave people at this midpoint of our conversation about sales apps and integrations? What is the nugget you want to live in their brain, or nuggets, nugget or nuggets? I'll take one or multiple nuggets, right?
Yeah.
What are the things that you want them thinking about going into next week's episode?
Yeah. So, and I think I'm going to base it off of kind of what Max was talking about earlier in the podcast. And also I'm going to base a little bit of this off of Dan Martell and 10X and buy back your time and like that kind of stuff. Like, I want you to understand that the money you spend should buy minutes back in your day. And when you focus on the money that you're spending to buy minutes back in your day with these apps, the next phase that I would want your brain to go to is apps to accelerate. Apps to accelerate your team, apps to accelerate your growth, or apps to augment, right? Because it's about augmenting and accelerating the things that we have to do on a daily basis, that if they're done better and faster, that's another way that you're going to see a higher ROI, because you're attacking it at both fronts. Instead of just thinking that you have to close more sales or close more deals, you're literally buying back time with the money you're spending, which is saving you in other ways. That's what I would put in people's minds.
I love that. You know what, Max? What about you? Is there any goodness you want to leave people with this week before we go into the next episode?
I don't want to put this. I think like what's really cool now is when you thought about crafting custom business systems in the past to do something for your business that you needed it to do, whether it was like some kind of functionality or, getting the right information to your team or helping people do their job better. Like, if we remember what that used to be like, it was always either hiring a bunch of developers or paying some company to build you some crazy homegrown proprietary clunky, garbage application that like you were just stuck in and couldn't make changes to unless you spent a ton of money on it. Right now you can build that stuff without all of that. Right. And you could do it on HubSpot, and you can kind of pick and choose the functionality, the additional functionality you need. You can try different things. You can experiment. You can build the, business systems of your dreams with apps. You don't have to custom build it and be beholden to these like developers that are going to charge you an arm and a leg every time you want to change something about the system that you use. Right. That is the modern day version of building a business system. It's choosing a platform and building the apps on, or choosing the apps on top of it, right, that you need to kind of really make it work for you. And that's super exciting. But I think the other little bit, the thing that I want people to look out for is try to figure out what the 1 + 1 = 3 moments are when you combine 2 or more apps with HubSpot, because the beauty of HubSpot is that it's the grand translator of information, if you will, for these apps to kind of work together, right? Because all these apps speak HubSpot, which means it puts information into object records, right? And that means other apps can use it, right? And you can create moments, kind of like I mentioned before, where Dan reached out to me. He's like, hey, like if someone uses GeoMap or an event happily, they could just circle something on a map and get a list of people to invite to an event. And that's like really easy to do, right? And it's like, cool. Like that's something that you wouldn't be able to do without these like, 2 apps kind of working through, the great uniter, which is HubSpot. And having all that data in one place, that in a language that all these other apps can understand. So that's the thing. We'll go search for those 1 + 1 = 3 moments when you combine 1 or more apps with HubSpot.
It's a great callback, by the way. Yeah. 1 + 1 = 3.
Mm-hmm.
Aww. We made some good memories today, guys.
We did.
George, you want to take us out? You got a poem, a thought bubble? A dream?
I really don't have a poem or a thought bubble. But I will say this.
Uh-oh.
Strap in, get ready, because next week we've got, what is it, 8 more apps we want to talk about to unleash unparalleled excitement and advantages to your organization.